Sorry, just allergies is flaring up out of nowhere, but I wanted to talk to you guys about something today. And that's how, if anything, hopefully, COVID-19 and the response to it has shown you how layered when it comes to these different industries in terms of them being compromised. I could argue, and I would argue, definitely when it comes to these academic and educational elites, they've long been compromised. They are, as far as I'm concerned, the propaganda wing of the state. Okay, and the mask, for lack of better terms, is off. It's an election year. This virus thing, and all of this sort of is like a perfect storm. Where now everybody wears their political slants on their sleeves. It's politically and socially expedient to do so. So that's what they're doing. And they're telling on themselves and they're showing you that. So I would think any rational person would look at this and be like, how serious am I supposed to take everything that they say? Scientific American has never endorsed, this is what they say on their Twitter page, blue check marked out of their mind. Scientific American has never endorsed a presidential candidate in our 175-year history until now. The 2020 election is literally a matter of life and death. We urge you to vote for health, science, and Joe Biden as president. Literally a matter of life. Literally. The evidence and the science show that Donald Trump has badly damaged the U.S. and its people because he rejects evidence and science. The most devastating example of this is willfully ignorant response to COVID-19 pandemic, which cost more than 190,000 Americans' lives. So, I guess he's not the dictator, I guess, that they wanted him to be. Ironically enough, or they expected him to be. Isn't that crazy? I think that's one thing that I certainly learned. A lot of the lockdowns and all of this sort of thing that happened by way of the states, mask orders, lockdowns, and Trump didn't really get involved, and they're talking about the response as if he should have gone full dictator, maybe full national lockdown. This is what, and the national mask mandates. This is what Joe Biden and Harris have done, and or more so have said that they do. So what's crazy to me is how people look at these industries. Man, my allergies is off the chain right now. People have looked at these industries as just these, I don't even want to say beacons of hope. It's almost a religious cling to it. And they believe everything it is that they say. And they expect them to get them out of sticky situations. And I understand that, right? Because I'm not anti-science. But you have looked at this COVID-19 thing. And you have seen how when there were people that were in the medical field, science community, that said something to the contrary of what was considered mainstream, they were discredited. They were not just ignored, they were piled upon. See, Dr. J.B. Dachar of Stanford, and when this thing was coming out and they were doing the antibody tests, and he was saying how his colleagues were just telling him to get in line and stuff like that. And then people would see doctors have opposing opinions in regards to the lockdowns, and you have people of the other parts of the science community saying they're wrong, or YouTube and the Googles of the world shutting them down. You think that science is this ever-going argument, right? It's not this real consensus all the time. It's you want to get it right. So there's this ever-going argument that they don't even want that to exist. And now they are being more politically motivated in what it is that they say, even if it doesn't align with their science. Sorry, guys, allergies, man. I don't know why I'm even shooting this video. I don't know. Maybe someone from the science community can help me with that. Nonetheless, what they are showing you is they are politically motivated. We saw that with the protesting, right? George Floyd thing happens. They have been lecturing you about social distancing and all of these other different things. And then not only did they green light and approve of the protests and stuff like that, you had them in certain parts of New York, folks in their, PPE, all of that, people that are working in the medical field, right, at the hospital, outside clapping them on. So wait a minute, you mean to tell me that somehow doesn't go against all these people being bunched up, doesn't go up against these social distancing ideas that you had been telling? You wouldn't condemn that? No, because they had been politically compromised. That's what it's about. So more so what's happening is that they're using their position. And I'm not saying it's completely anti-scientific. What I'm saying is the politics is influencing their rationale, if you will. And when they take a hard stance like this ain't just individual. Of course, individually, scientists are going to have their political leanings. But when you take like groups, organizations, and big blocks of folks, definitely folks that have taken a stance of not endorsing candidates, and then they say, well, we got to do it this time. That's telling you all that you need to know. These people are not without bias. And for whatever reason, people think that they are, just because they're in the science community. They say, well, these people are I don't know, they're doctors, they're epidemiologists, the ones that they agree with, of course. Epidemiologists don't all agree on the response to this COVID crap. But they look at that and it's like saying, well, that badge, it gives them undeniable truth. And you can't criticize anything it is that they say. Unbelievable. And people still believe it. And definitely when you have something like this, science, right? A lot of their funding comes by way of the state. If you don't think that influences their positions and that doesn't influence what it is that they say, you're sadly mistaken. Of course it would. Absolutely it would. There's a reason why a lot of libertarians like myself call the academic community, including other libertarian academics, the propaganda arm of the state. And if you are a person that looks at this as an issue, right? Damn, these guys are so powerful enough that they can shut the entire country down, albeit not maybe nationally in that sense, but you get what I'm saying, bandwagon effect. But these guys are so powerful, and they can say, well, this is what the science says, and they can, and you look at that and you wonder, how can you stop that from expanding? You cannot address liberty, right? Moving further towards liberty until you address that academic wing. You cannot. The educational elites, the public school system, all of that stuff, it's intertwined, man. And they're telling on themselves now. The quiet parts, the saying out loud. Yes, we've probably long had that slant, but now again, it's expedient for them to do so. So now they're telling on themselves. Yes, we endorse Joe. If you don't think that they would not use their positions of power to influence you politically or take political positions or use their scientific, medical, whatever field that they're in, and use okay, I'm part of this field, so you must do this politically. If you don't think that would intertwine with some sort of bias, you're sadly mistaken. They are not unbiased individuals. They have feelings just like other folks. You just look at them as if they're unbiased. And then when they have those credentials, right? That credibility, you believe them. But only if they agree with your politics. Because we know in response to COVID-19, there had been other epidemiologists that were saying, this lockdown is stupid. But they pushed them down, right? You got to discredit them. You got to, no, absolutely not. Instead, listen to these other guys. They're politically approved. And I'm not telling anybody to go out there and be anti-science. I'm just saying that that's something that you have to consider when you hear something come from this community. When you have an 175-year history of Scientific American, they've never endorsed a candidate, but they endorse one now. I wouldn't look at that and say, well, that just really shows how bad Donald Trump is. No, Joe Biden's a piece of garbage, objectively. Or as in the Scientific American, as they say, literally. But all that stuff's intertwined, man. And they've been compromised. It's just now you're starting to see it because they're saying the quiet parts out loud. Now, this is why I continuously say that under no circumstance, for any industry, should the world, country, state be held hostage by way of these communities, these industries. And we got to wait on what they say. You can advise us all you want, convince us. But these fools want to use the state to force everybody into quarantine forever. Nonetheless, here we are. They've been long compromised.